Yeah, okay. Regarding Ramya's question, I think we had similar problems faced by many people. So the issue is basically we are supposed to take input from the standard input. So basically they will in the test cases they will give some input. So we are supposed to take that from the standard input, process that and give an output corresponding to that. But that will not work if you directly try to hard code the inputs. So in the question they will be giving like a sample example input output. So like in the Chembur Mumbai problem, they have given some example. So that example actually you are not supposed to like write that hard code that value in your code. You are supposed to read that from the input tab in the coding console. Yeah, okay. So basically, I will just tell you how you can easily solve the quiz problems and all that are coming in our graded part and all. So basically, most of the questions are like you are given some 2-3 lines of code. You are supposed to find out the answer. Or in some cases, it will be like based on theory questions, like you will be given some 3 or 4 options, and you will be asked to choose which one is true, which one is false, or things like that. So all those things you can actually try it out in the console and find out. So I'll just give 2-3 examples here. So one is suppose because since we are doing in collab, I need not print. If I directly give 3 plus 3, once it connects, it will give. Since we are running the first cell, it will take a few moments to initialize. So actually, if you are trying in some other console, you may have to do this in a print with a print. Okay, if you can see here, you got 6, or even you can give it inside a print itself. So you should always try to prefer to give it inside print, because when you have 2-3 lines, if you don't give print, then only the last line will get printed out. So now suppose other thing is like operator precedence. So we have like multiple operators, right? Division operator, then integer division, multiplication, exponentiation, addition, subtraction, modulo. Then our bitwise operators, OR and XOR. Then our operators like ISIN. So all these things basically will have what is called a precedence. So basically what precedence means is that if you have an operation like 5 into 7 raised to 5 raised to 4 plus 3 minus 4 by 3 into 7. So you will have something like this. So now suppose I ask you what is the output of this? Yeah, even or odd I will explain after this. So basically, okay, I typed something here. 5 into 7 into 5 into 4 plus 3 minus 4 by 3 into 7. So you can try later to find out how it works actually. So I'll just tell how you can do this. If you actually want to find out the output, you can just find out just by running it in Python. I got some error in these two lars to convert to float. So I'll just because we are like raised to 5 raised to 4 we are given. I'll just change here to single into. Okay. Okay, so I got a big value like 33 133 now, but this is not like I can understand this, right? So which portion is giving like, so basically when you are learning, you can try it out by putting brackets. So one thing that you need to keep in mind is there is something called a BODMAS rule, as people call it. So one thing is this defines actually the priority, like brackets, exponentiation, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. If you consider arithmetic operations alone, and if you consider this logical operators, ampersand, etc., this thing slightly matters that you can go through your reference document. So I will just tell you how you this for this particular complicated thing I got this output. So I will try to see how to actually put brackets in this so that I will actually know directly which is the operations taking place. So for that, what I can do is I will try to put brackets here and there, and I will see that my output is not changing. So that way I can ensure that whatever way I am putting brackets is the correct way, right? So I'll just I know that exponentiation carries much weight. So first there is one exponential here, so that I will put a bracket. Then I will try to run and see. So as you can see, the output did not change. So that means that this one is the first thing that will get executed. The next thing that will come in this is division. So I'll just try to put a bracket around the division part. So as you can see, this time also the output did not change. So that is also correct. Then next thing is multiplication. So I will try to put a bracket wherever there is multiplication, and when same place multiple things are there, I will try to go from left to right. So as you can see here, it is 5 into 7 raised to 5 into 4. So 2 multiplies are there. So I will try to put first bracket. I will try here. Or let me try it for a wrong case. I will try to put here. Then also I got the same output. So since here both are into only, I got the same result. But actually when it is evaluated, it is from left to right. So you should actually have a bracket like this for better understanding. I put a brackets. Answer did not change. So now here one into is there. So here also I put one bracket. Now also my answer did not change. Now as you can see, I have one big bracketed operation here, then plus 3 minus. Now this is simpler to understand, right? I have like within brackets, if I separate, I have one thing here, 1 3 here, and one thing here. And within this, it is easy to know that this thing is 5 into 7 raised to 5 into 4. This thing is 4 by 3 into 7. Now if you see this first thing as well as the second thing, both are give the same result, both actually do the same thing. But the second thing is more readable, right? So when you get questions like this, there are two ways you can approach this. If you have a Python console or something available, you can directly type it in and find the answer. Otherwise, you try to put brackets based on the operator precedence. So if you have something like this, if you try to put brackets as per operator precedence, you will get this. I hope I am making myself clear, right? Okay, so why I am not using Jupyter Notebook? Actually, this is Colab. It is actually Jupyter Notebook only. So basically at the back end, because I am using Windows in my PC, so I have not installed Jupyter in that. I usually use my Jupyter in VirtualBox in Ubuntu, or I use Colab only. So because Windows, I try to keep extra things minimum. I don't install much. So that is why I am using Colab. So actually the backend of Colab is same as Jupyter. Whatever you can do in Jupyter, you can do in Colab as well. This is like I need not maintain the software or server at my side, that I will be using the resources provided by Google. Okay, so then one other example, I'll just check question number 2. So, okay. So question number 2. Okay, suppose I have a string like India is my country. Give me an error. You tell me why. Chats. I got when I typed India is my country, I got an error. Why? Why I got an error there? Yeah, exactly. It is supposed to be a string. So strings are supposed to be put inside either single quotes or double quotes. So I didn't use that. That is why I got a syntax error. Now I got India is my error. Suppose I define this to my string one variable I define, and then I put. Then I suppose I want to extract something out of this. So what is called a string slice. Suppose I want the second character, index starts from 0, then I will get 0 string 1. Okay. String 1. Second character is what? IND 0 1 2. So I will get D. Now suppose I want the fifth character. I'll give string 1 of 5. 1 2 3 4 5. This say I will get. And now suppose I want India. I'll print till the let me try to print till the 5th character. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So what will happen if I give 4? Then my A got. So this is similar to our list indexing that we saw. I should give whatever index I want, plus 1 I have to give here. So first part I have not given anything, that means it will start from the first index. Now suppose I want I want to print my, then I have to find the index of my. So what is that? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 onwards, then 10 is y, 11 is the space. So I want to give y plus 1, so I have to give 11 here. So that way I got my, right? Clear? Arvind, clear? Arvind, are you clear? Okay. Okay, now coming to next question. So suppose I have a tuple. I name it as tuple 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 45. Let it be that. So now my question is, will I be able to change something in this? I try to print the first element. I will get it as 2. Now suppose I change it to 0. And I'll get an error like tuple object does not type support item assignment. So as you can see, tuples are like what is called the immutable. So once you make a tuple, you can reassign it. Like full set, you can give same variable you can assign, but for the given tuple, whatever values you have filled into this, you can access each of these values for reading, but you cannot write into any of those indexes, or you cannot add new elements to this or do something with the elements that are already in a tuple. Then coming to the next question is very straightforward. I will not answer that here. Next one also very much straightforward. Next one also direct theory. Okay, next one is regarding dictionary. So I will just share her doubt. So her doubt is like this. Suppose you have a dictionary. So I'll just type out her question. Your dict1 is equal to you are having as keys A corresponding to that value 1, B corresponding to that value 2, C corresponding to that value 3. Then she's having a second dictionary which is having values B corresponding to 4, C corresponding to 5, and D corresponding to 6. So basically you can assume like you are having, and you are supposed to find the like add the keys in that. So what will happen if I do dict1 plus dict2? Then it will tell me like unsupported operand types plus 4 dict and dict, because both are dictionary types. Something like a plus operator is not defined for a dictionary. So then what I can do? One thing I can do is I can iterate over one first dictionary, then add manually add each of the elements in that dictionary to second one. Or I can use a lambda function or something like that and directly use this. But actually when we are doing like Linux and all, we need not complicate things like this because there is a function like called update. We'll do just that. So let's try that. So and then I will try to print. So then as you can see here, my A got 1, B got 4. So actually my keys got added. But when I updated, as you can see here, B was 2, here B was 4. But finally in the output, I got B as 4. Similarly for C here, 3 was 5, here 5, I got as 5. So here it was C is only 3 and 5. Similarly, D was only here. So as you can see, whichever keys are like there in A and B, dict1 and dict2, the key values from dict2 got overridden. Now this is not what I want, right? If the keys were like not same, I could have used this approach. But I want something like a dict1 and dict2, and wherever keys are common, I want them to add the values to either if in this case I want A1, B 4 plus 2 6, C 3 plus 5, and D 6. So what I can do is I need an iterator in this case. Like for I can write key value in dict2 dot items. And this will give me like first it will give B4, then it will give C5, then it will give D6. Then I will check whether I will write it as dict1 of key equal to. I will first check whether it is there in one key is there in dict1. If it is there, I will return that. Otherwise, I will return 0 because the get and all we have gone through our peer sessions in detail, so you can go through that. Then I will add the value. So I hope this is clear. If you don't understand what I have done here, you can go through our peer session corresponding to dictionary. So there we have explained similar code. So if you see dict1 now, I got, okay, we did a something in between. That's why I got this output. I will just run the cell once again, first cell, and now run this. So as you can see now, I got A1, B6, which is this 4 plus 2, C8, which is 5 plus 3, and D6. So I got the output that I exactly want. So this is what like Cherna asked in the question. Then coming to this thing, our okay, I think I covered all the 7 questions. The 8th question is little complicated. You can write on your own. That way, let the graded part be complete. That if you write out in console, you will get it. So coming to next question from Aravind, that was regarding how to Ramya something. Can we update dict1 too? Yeah, sure. The problem with update is with whatever, if you do dict2 dot update dict1, then it will take dict2 as the reference. Then whichever values are there, it will fetch and update from dict1. So the final values will be, if keys are present in both ones, final values will be corresponding to values in dict1. So that both are like correct only. Now next doubt was regarding Aravind that how to solve even odd question, and one Aravind, your second doubt I didn't get. 3n plus 1, 3n plus 2, 3n. What that question, can you just give in more detail by that in the chat? By that time I will tell how I can solve the even or odd problem. So suppose I am given a list, one like I'll tell like I for I in range 20. Then I will print that. Jyoti, actually I see that you have joined. Jyoti, we will be having a Python like doubt clearing session here. So if you have some doubt from this probability also, you can type it in the chat. We will try to answer that. So because that India Park match is going on, so Panda session we move to next week. Yeah, Amrit has raised his hand. Amrit.
Yes, yes, I understand. No doubt.
Yeah. Amrit, I see that you have raised your hand. If you have some doubt, you can ask. After that, I will go to that even odd question.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Amrit. Yeah.
I always get confused. Key comma value in dict2 dot items is there, right? Whatever the keys and values are there in items, dict dot items comes in key values. Then dict key equal sign dict1 dot get. That statement I didn't understand.
Okay. So first thing, ij. So that key value I have just put it so that like it will reflect the correct representation of that thing. So basically, whenever we are writing an code, so basically for understanding purpose, we need to put whatever is like the correct representation. So for that purpose only, I have put a key value. But I think your confusion is mainly centered around the use of key value when we talk and the key value that I put here. So for your understanding, I have replaced that by I and j. So you can have actually anything here. So now with that, I will explain. So what it happens is I am iterating over dict2 dot items. So when I iterate over dict2 dot items, it will first give me dict2 b and 4 in my first iteration, c and 5 in my second iteration, and d and 6 in my third iteration. So this will be like a tuple. So that tuple will get assigned to I and j. So in the first iteration, I will be b, j will be 4. Second iteration, I will be c, j will be 5. And in the third iteration, I will be d, j will be 6. This much is clear, right?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay. Now going to the next line. Next line, I am trying to concatenate two dictionaries. So whichever values are already there in dictionary 1, I want to update those values by adding the value that I got from dictionary 2. If the value is not already present in dict1, I want to just add a new key with the corresponding value. So dict1 dot get is like a good like I can directly write dict1 of I here. But the issue is if it is the keys, okay, we can just try that. I will just run this and let's see what will happen if I try dict1 of I here. So basically this is what I want, right? So something I take, if it is already there, I take that value, then I add the value I got from dictionary 2 and I add that. So what will happen is you will see that for the key B, if you see for the key B, there was no error. It operated properly. For the key C, it operated properly. But when it came to the key D, I tried to access the key D from dictionary 1, which is not there in the dictionary. So that will give me an error, like it will give an exception, which is of the type key error, because that key is not there in dictionary 1. So to overcome situations like this, to gracefully handle such situations without running into an exception, I have a convenience function called get for the dictionary, where I can specify that you give me the value corresponding to the key I, and if it is not found, you give me something else. That something else is the second argument. So I can have none here, 0 here, 1 here, 10 here, depending on my problem. For this particular statement, since we are trying a numeric addition, if I don't have any entry, I need to return a 0 here and add the value from the second dictionary. So that is what will happen in this case. So now suppose I try to run this. Let's try to analyze it loop by loop. So in the first loop, B for I is B and J is 4. So dict1, there is a B there. So that dict1 of B equal to dict1 of get B. So that will return me 2 plus in the J I have 4. The second iteration C and 5. I will get dict1 of C equal to dict1 dot get C. That will give me 3 plus j is 5 here. The third iteration, dict1 of d equal to dict1 dot get d. That key is not there in dict1. So I will return whatever is in the second argument, that is 0. So 0 plus 6, that will give me again 6. So I hope it is clear now. Amrit?
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much. Clear.
Okay, other Aravind. Okay, I will answer Arvind's odd even question. Aravind, your other question regarding 3n, 3n plus 1, 3n plus 2, I didn't understand the question. You can just type it out in the chat. By that time, I will answer the even odd question. So basically, I have a list like this. So I am using list comprehension I for I in range 20. So I get a list for numbers from 0 to 90. Now suppose I want to find out the even numbers from this or odd numbers from this. So how can I find whether a number is even or odd? So if suppose I have a 6, if I divide it by 2, I will get what? 3. Right. And if I divide a 5 by 2, I will get 2.5. Right. So similar to division, there is another operator which will give you the remainder of the division operation. So when you divide 6 by 2, the quotient is 3, remainder is 0. When you divide 5 by 2, the quotient is 2, remainder is 1. Right. So that remainder can be returned by what is called a modulo operator, single percent. So if I give 6 modulo 2, that will give me 0. And if I give 5 modulo 2, that will give me 1. So this modulo operator can be used as a check for whether a number is even or odd. So suppose I want to check whether this number is even, I have to check whether the modulo operator output equal to. So if I run this, I will get as true. And if I run this, I will get as false. Similarly, if I want to check like odd number, I can replace it by whether modulo operator gives me an output as 1. So again, if I run this, any odd number, even number will give me false, and then odd number will give me true. Now suppose for list 1, I want to find out the elements which are even or which are odd. So for that, I can just use list comprehension itself. I for I in list 1 or something x. Okay. If x modulo 2 equal to 0 for x in list 1. X. So I actually forgot how to implement list comprehension like this. Invalid syntax. X. Okay, so basically I changed the thing. So if in list comprehension you can do like similar to a lambda function for x in list 1, if x modulo 2 equal to 0. So that as we saw here equal to 0 will be true when it is an even number and it will be false when it is an odd number. So correspond to that condition, I want the elements from list 1. So I can do if I do like this, I will get. Similarly, if I want even numbers, now I got even numbers. If I want odd numbers, I have to check either whether it is equal to 1 or if I check whether it is not equal to 0. So this way I can separate out the even and odd numbers from a particular list. So I hope this is clear, Aravind. Okay, Aravind, can you explain your other question? I didn't understand your question that 3n plus 1, 3n plus 2, 3n, how to solve. I hope you want to split it into 3 based on multiple of 3. So I assume that and then I will explain that way. So for the same list, I will assume that Aravind wanted to split it into 3, which are like 3n, 3n plus 1 and 3n plus 2. That is multiples of 3 in one list then 3n plus 1, that kind of way. That is 1, 4, 7, that kind of thing in the second list, and 5, 2, 5, 8, that kind of thing in the 3 list. So that is similar to this only. Only difference is he will have to divide it by 3, right? So basically his problem is he has to divide by 3 and he has to see whether the remainder is 0, 1, 4. So here I need to split his list in this way. So same list I will take. So then I will give the list if the remainder is 0 for division by 3. If the remainder is 1 for division by 3. And if the remainder is 2 for division by 3. So that way I could split my entire input list into 3 parts. Like this will be like 3n. This will be like 3n plus 1. And this will be like 3n plus 2. I hope this is what you asked, Arvind. Did this clear your doubt? Okay, any more doubts? Okay, so Ramya's problem is she is able to understand the topics, but struggling while coding. Okay, so what I would suggest is by your statement, I am able to understand the topics. I will assume that you are going through the videos and the text material without actually trying out the code which is told there. So that will be the only condition that I can think of, whether you can understand the topics but struggling while coding. So what I would suggest you to do is whenever you are going through the topics, for all the topics they have provided one notebook, a Jupyter notebook. So you open that in the notebook and you try out the examples or code that is given in that notebook as you proceed with the along with the same pace. As you proceed with the video, you pause the video. You do in the notebook whatever was told in the video. You change some plus minus equal to variable name. You something that you feel like doing, you change it and see how it works. And then proceed to the continue with the video. So that way, I don't think you will have a problem with struggling with coding, because the problem I think that you are having is you are like going through the video and the content without actually trying out whatever they are telling in the Jupyter notebook. If you try to do that also, I think you will not have any, because almost all the code that is there in our course is like basic level code only. Nothing complicated is there. Like in Python, you can next time and all when we go, Jyoti will be knowing, because once we go into data visualization, data analysis and all, we will be required to write more complicated code. So whatever is covered in our material is like a basic level code only. As I told last day, +2 level Python only we are actually learning in our this course. So I think once you try it out parallelly along when you learn the theory, try it practical also in parallel, it should not be a problem.